Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Tuesday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Tuesday. Welcome, everybody. Wait, is it Tuesday? Yeah, it is Tuesday. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Quad Bennett, Globus the Elder. I'm here early for once. I appreciate it. Michael Hassler. Heat, how's it going? Welcome. Actually hopes Hunter does sometime. Yeah. He was just convicted. We're going to talk about that today. Folks, a couple of news. A couple of updates, I guess. Or news? I don't know. Whatever you want to call it. Next week, there might be... next week, there might not be a stream for Tuesday and Wednesday. It is possible that I will be down in Florida. I will probably figure that out. I will probably figure that out tomorrow, but yeah. Just a heads up, folks. I'll probably know more by tomorrow. Listen, I'm sorry too, in the sense that, like, if I do decide, or if I do find it feasible to go, then man, I do not look forward to that traffic. How hot is it in Florida? It's pretty hot. The answer is yes. The answer is yes. But realistically, it's like 80s, mid to high 80s, I imagine. Folks, before we get started, consider checking out the YouTube channel. Keep liking the stream. I see you. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Join the Discord. If you want to keep up with the channel, join the Discord. Wolf Glenn, how's it going? Welcome. Consider checking out the merch store with exclamation mark merch. Depends on where in Florida. Yeah, I meant like south. Like way like south, not Keys, not the Keys South, but South Florida. All right, folks. Let's get started. Good thing it's not raining. Yeah, oh, that's another thing. Like, I'm 100% sure that it's going to rain while I'm there. I just glanced at Miami's forecast. Next week is only mid 80s, but thunderstorms every day. Yeah, it sounds... that tracks. It rains all the time. Usually it's the tropics after all. True. Miami has good food. I'll give them that. Do watch out for flooding. Yep. This is like this is the kind of stuff that like that I'm not yeah. This just happened like yesterday or the day before. My friends who are in who are down there told me about this. As long as the flooding isn't too bad, it'll be fine. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff I look forward to. All right, folks. Let's get it started. I do got to make sure I end on time today.
John Fetterman went on Real Time with Bill Maher, and yeah, it was as insufferable as you would expect it to be.
Yeah. Do check the weather reports as South Florida was getting and has even getting up to 16 inches of rain. Jesus. Yikes. Yeah, I'll definitely have to like just kind of be on the lookout. Good catch there, Wolfglen, definitely. Raining every day. Sheesh. Yeah, set the clock. All right, let's do it.
But there's some interesting tidbits in there that I do want to talk about, because on one hand, Fetterman admits that he's no longer progressive, yet he still implies that he is progressive, and really he didn't leave the left left him.
Yeah.
And that's why he no longer identifies with progressives. But at the same time, he also says that he's not progressive anymore because his near-death experience made him come to the realization that he should be more honest about his actual thoughts, which happened to be significantly more conservative. So he's all over the place here, but I do love that he's basically confirming that he became more conservative after getting brain damage, literally, because that explains so much. But I do want to talk about that part first, because it starts with Bill Maher commending him for being honest and pointing out how politicians usually aren't this open about their true beliefs until they retire.
Kamikaze, welcome. His why I left the left story was just him getting a stroke. Exactly. Welcome, Bipedal Meatbag. He just got into a car accident yesterday, I think. Yes, but I think it was a minor one. It wasn't really like anything major as far as I knew. Better late than never. True. Welcome.
But Bill Maher asks him whether or not his near-death experience gave him the courage that he needed to be more open and honest about his true beliefs, and this was his response. Quote, "Absolutely," Fetterman responded. "There's a line from the first Batman. Joker's like, I've been dead once already. It's very liberating. It's freeing in a way, and I just think after beating all of that, I just really want to be able to say the things that I have to really believe in and not be afraid of if there's any kind of blowback." Maher then asked him to explain what he meant when he stated last year, "I'm not a progressive, I'm just a regular Democrat," and how he separates himself from progressivism. Quote, "I didn't leave the label, it left me on that," Fetterman.
Wait. Like, by definition, if you are something, it's because presumably, like, presumably, if you call yourself, I don't know, progressive, right? Then presumably the reason why you chose that label is because you believe in certain principles that would be considered progressive. But if you actually don't believe those and you're now saying that, like, oh, well, I'm finally able to speak my truth or whatever, maybe you weren't progressive to begin with, and maybe that was just kind of a, how do I say this, grift, a lie. Yeah, Fetterman went down the Joker meme hole. I see. Yeah, arriving at the bottom of the bottom of the bottom. Carpet packs. Oh man, this mofo. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You have to be subjected. I didn't leave the left. The left left. The left left me.
Said, sure, we've never heard that one before, John. But notice how he's not willing to pick a lane here. He's saying that he didn't leave the left and the left left him, but at the same time, his near-death experience freed him and allowed him to speak more candidly about his conservative views.
Right. So another way of putting it is, he's a liar. Okay? That's about as simple as you can break it down. He's a liar, okay? He's a liar. If you claim that you are progressive, or if you claim that you are of a political ideology, you pretend to espouse those beliefs, and then it turns out that an incident happens to you, and you feel like, well, you know what? This is actually kind of liberating because now I can actually speak my truth. No, what happened is that you were never that to begin with. You were never that to begin with.
Look, I genuinely think that his brain is too cooked to notice that he's contradicting himself here. But this is a grift as old as time itself, right? Yep. It's what everyone says when they leave the left and shift to the right. For example, just this week, City and State New York magazine featured a quote from Richie Torres where he says, I didn't leave the progressive movement left me. And then it says that he's not afraid to stand alone, as if supporting Israel's genocide is some unique position in government. But I just think it's funny that he thinks anyone believed he was progressive in the first place. But I mean, the point is, we've seen this again and again and again. The left has consistently opposed settler colonialism and genocide, but yet we have these opportunistic grifting politicians coming along, bankrolled by the Israel lobby, saying, no, the left actually changed. They used to be pro-settler colonialism and genocide, and now that they've changed and they don't support Israel, I don't support them. No, you've changed. Millions of people in the progressive movement haven't suddenly changed. Just admit that you changed. I don't understand why they have to pretend like they haven't changed. I don't know if it's
Well, no, they never changed. That's the thing. It's not that they all of a sudden, changed positions. Is that they lied about their original positions. That's what I would say. Brain damage turned me to conservative. Yes, and? And perhaps we need to do more mental tests on our reps. Biden is removing medical debt from credit reports. Now is the time to.
Cognitive dissonance.
Never trust a politician during a campaign. True. Power is the ultimate goal. True.
And they don't want to admit that they haven't been consistent or that they've been bought off. I don't know what it is, but I hate that they pretend like they haven't changed when it's obvious that they changed, right? But when it comes to Fetterman, he also flipped on the issue of immigration, but yet he's still blaming the left for his shift. Isn't
Yeah, so I mean, again, I feel like maybe he was just never progressive to begin with. I'm just saying. Wait, are we suggesting that a politician would lie to us to get votes? Nah, I would never. Politicians are incredibly honest people.
Isn't that amazing? These people blame the left for everything because they just can't be honest about themselves that they've shifted. They were bought off. I mean, look, I'm not going to agree with you if you change, but you don't have to pretend like you didn't change. Like, there's nothing wrong inherently so about changing your political position. It happens all the time, but your position is getting worse and you're still blaming the left and you're saying, no, I've always been the same. Why don't you just admit that you changed? I guess I don't understand that.
Because it's a grift. Because it's a grift. Because it's a grift. Because it would be like, it would be like one thing, like if he if you were just to be like, yeah, I just don't believe those things anymore. I was wrong. And now because he could like garner a lot more right wing kind of like audience if you were just to be like, yeah, I used to be called I used to call myself a progressive, but now I've seen the light or something. I say never trust anyone wearing a suit or badge. Fair. Lee Spanner, glad I caught you. Keep it going. You're right about Fetterman. He's always been awful on Israel, but I think the stroke really did change some things. Fetterman worked with the Sunrise Movement in the past, and now he mocks them. Yeah. Which makes me think, like, I don't know. Was it all just kind of fake? Because, like, I mean, Fetterman gives off strong Tim Pool vibes. Or a jogging outfit.
Now, what struck me is how Fetterman said that his near-death experience freed him in a way. So that way he's more inclined to be honest now about his true beliefs. And listen, I have no doubt that having a near-death experience is going to affect somebody in a profound way. It's going to get you to look at things differently, view life in a different way. But it somehow made Fetterman a worse person. That's what's crazy to me, right? Because think about it. If you nearly die, you are hit with the harsh reality that existence is ephemeral, right? So nearly losing his life, in theory, should get him to value life more, be more empathetic, get him to acknowledge the inherent preciousness of life and support life for all people. But instead, he takes the opposite approach. He comes away from that experience with the opposite view of life. And he's now one of the loudest cheerleaders for Israel's genocide and thinks that they should be able to slaughter as many Palestinians as they want to with impunity. It's the opposite conclusion anyone of sound mind would come to after having a near-death experience. But that's the key here, because he's not of sound mind. He suffered a stroke and brain damage as a result, and he hasn't been the same since, and everyone can see it. Now, that's because when you experience damage to your brain's prefrontal cortex, your cognitive flexibility becomes diminished, and you literally become less curious and open-minded. In fact, there's actually a correlation between brain damage and religious fundamentalism. But I'm not an expert. However, him explaining his pivot by pointing to his stroke that gave him brain damage does make a lot of sense. But it's entirely possible that his near-death experience did free him in a sense. And I say,
yeah, I agree, because it means that he doesn't have to put up any masks. I mean, I think it might have just all been a farce, He may have had some quote unquote good movements, or maybe good moments, I should say, working with like the Sunrise Movement and things like that, but I don't know. Yeah, freedom from logic and reason. If I can die, why not Palestinian children? It made him a bigger supremacist. He does value life more, just his own. Yeah, seriously. BPCL, welcome. Missed the beginning. It's okay. I promise that there's not much context here missing, other than like Fetterman coming away with the wrong lesson here.
I say this because, Bill Maher, he's come to the same conclusions as John Fetterman, and
Fetterman bad, there you go.
You can't chalk up Bill Maher's stupidity to brain damage, right? But I mean, they're going to go on in this next clip here that we're going to watch to explain why they think the left is so off base in their refusal to support Israel's genocide. And these reasons that they cite is why it's antithetical to leftism to not support Israel here.
Cool. All right. Hit me, Bill Maher, because I'm sure what we're going to hear is pure, unadulterated logic. Let's go. Judgment Free Zone, welcome. No big presidential polls. Ohio polls are pretty flawed, but they will motivate corporate overloads to invest in Brown, so it's worthwhile. I would say that it seems like there has been a small shift in favor of Biden, but that's recent and not a trend. Does that make sense? Pretty flawed might be an exaggeration, just RV, which is normal kind of poll. I feel as if I may come away with this video with some brain damage. Fetterman does whatever a Zionist can. I haven't seen those polls. It's like an aggregate. Oh wait, no, it wasn't a poll. It was it wasn't a poll. It was a Real Clear Politics kind of algorithm that combined all the polls and guessed who would win the presidential election. So it wasn't a poll. I'm sorry. At least I don't think so. I think it was like, the little algorithm machine that plugs in all the polls and plugs in some other data and comes out with like how many times would Biden win out of 100 times, how many times would Trump win out of 100 times, and it seems like Biden has a slight edge. That's what I saw. L Spanner, thank you for the follow. I'm voting third party. Claudia de la Cruz. I think she's not green, right? She's the communist candidate. Are you thinking of 538? Yeah. It was like, pretty sure it was. Oh yeah, 538. PSL. Party for Socialism and Liberation. Gotcha. An offshoot of Workers' World Party. I think you're right, BPCO. I think it was 538.
Really, after it happened on October 7th, I was...
Arctic Mule, howdy. I would vote for Jill Stein, but I want to see her divest all her money into her campaign. Well, let me rewind.
Off base in their refusal to support Israel's genocide, and these reasons that they cite is why it's antithetical to leftism to not support Israel here.
Really, after it happened on October 7th, I was really knew that that whole progressive stack would be blasted apart, and there's not going to be any kind of way how the Democrats are going to be able to reply to that kind of, respond to that kind of. And I really decided early on that I believe that was going to be the right side with Israel throughout all of that.
I'm sorry, what? He's wearing his fancy hoodie for the interview. Can we get a translation here? He thinks his rich friends are representative of all Democrats. Gotcha.
And I knew that would going to be Democrats would continue to peel away and kind of walk away from standing with Israel on that. But that's where I decided after.
How do you explain that, if you can, that the people who consider themselves the most liberal have abandoned Israel, which was always a liberal darling, for the people
He does not understand that he needs to appeal to voters outside of the bubble. Someone get the Galaxy Quest clip.
who, a terrorist organization, the people who outwardly say they want a genocide, who outwardly are the one side of this who's against the two-state solution. Somehow they wound up with them. Why do you think that is? And will this split the Democratic Party?
Well, it does because
it has split the Democratic Party as far as the base goes, but as far as the leadership and as far as the actual party's position, the actual party's position is pro-Israel. Like, The overwhelming majority of Democratic lawmakers have no problems continuing to fund Israel. What do you think about RFK as a third-party option? Who? Now that's a take. Israel was always liberal. Yep, 100%. Brainworms 2024. He's in a fantasy world. Democrats have not abandoned Israel. Correct. Elected officials are much more malleable because they're invertebrates, but the identity Dems and the working class voters have they have to woo every 2 years are pretty much split. Yeah, they are.
There's an appeal there, and I think you talk about that. Like last week, you really hit with the gender apartheid.
Yes.
And talking about a lot of these issues, and
The
some of the
gender
most progressive
apartheid?
and left parts of the Democratic Party are standing, for the kind of side that have kinds of organizations like Hamas or these kind of nations that there are no rights for women, and they certainly don't embrace the LGBTQ kinds of lifestyle. And then even in Philadelphia, the Queers for Palestine blocked the Pride parade in Philadelphia.
Like, this is so sick. Like, you could hold the position that you don't agree with, like, religious fundamentalism as government, and you can also simultaneously agree that, like, bombing an entire population out of existence is bad. You know that you can believe these two things, right? You can believe both of these two things. I don't understand. I hate that old man hoodie just said we stand for Hamas. Yeah, there you go. They're gonna bomb the human rights into them, right? I'd vote for RFK's brainworm before I'd vote for him. What's the brainworm thing? Oh, you should look it up. You might get a kick out of it. To give you like a 5-second summary, RFK admitted that he had a brain in his worm that ate part of his brain and died. It's literally what it sounds like.
And I never saw that on the bingo card, but it's really true.
Well, I mean, Queers for Palestine showed up.
He did it to claim mental impairment so he could dodge paying his ex-wife. Yes, that's how it came out. Exactly. That's exactly correct. It's okay, though. RFK Jr. gave himself mercury poisoning from eating too much tuna, and that killed the worm. Phenomenal. I don't agree with the religious fundamentalism, and religious fundamentalists should not be bombed out of existence. Oh, look, my brain didn't explode. Yeah, like, and that's assuming, like, every single, like, you have to understand that, like, the point being is that, like, they're just trying to be, they're just trying to excuse the ethnic cleansing, right? That's literally it. Like, he inserted the worm because of that, or he admitted it because of that? He admitted it. Alright, Tuna, I guess that makes me brainworm free. No, he ate he ate an unhealthy amount of mercury poisoned tuna, I guess. He was on some kind of diet kick, and that's kind of what happened. Like, it's not that, like, he just ate some an unreasonable amount. Like, it's one thing if you just eat tuna occasionally because you like tuna, but he was like on some kind of diet. But yeah. I believe it's a bigger problem with fresh tuna than canned stuff we plebs eat. Do the brainworms eat tuna? No. To get dangerous amount of mercury from canned tuna, you'd have to eat like a dozen cans every day for a month. For months. He's a rich dude, so he probably ate a bunch of fancy fish, not just tuna. True. Tuna doesn't taste as good without the mercury. Kennedy's a fool, among other things, yes.
To a pride march in Philadelphia, so I guess we're all going to have to support genocide now. They got us. We're backed into a corner. Brilliant logic. I think that they're trying to use that as evidence that Israel critics are anti-gay and illiberal, when in actuality, Queers for Palestine in Philadelphia is one group. It's one small group of queers trying to get other queers to join the movement for a free Palestine. And to be clear, queer criticism of Pride is not a new phenomenon. Queer people have spoken out against the commercialization of Pride and rainbow capitalism for a very long time now. And this is seemingly an effort by leftist queers to get fellow queers to reject efforts by politicians to pinkwash genocide. That means not letting genocide-supporting politicians show up to Pride, for example. But with that being said, I don't know what the protesters' main goal was there, but I don't care. I just despise this notion that queer people who support Palestine are doing so against their own self-interest because Palestinians are homophobic. How about you don't use us to justify the genocide that you're supporting?
Right. That's exactly it. Like, it's pretty freaking slimy to try to, like, use that as some kind of cudgel or shield, to then say, like, and, to then say, like, yeah, and that's why it's okay. You know, that's why it's okay to bomb tens of thousands of people. God knows how many at this point. Yeah, it's pretty freaking disgusting. General Strike, welcome. Homophobia isn't an excuse to mass murder people. Just saying. Correct.
Because Alabamians are pretty homophobic, but that doesn't mean that I support the mass starvation and slaughter of people in Alabama. But that's where the disconnect here is coming from, seemingly, right? Since Israel is a liberal darling, as Bill Maher described it, you know, we're supposed to automatically applaud everything that they do since our values theoretically align more with them, and thus they must be doing what they're doing in the name of said values. But that's stupid, and I reject that. And that logic right there is what leads to the justification of very terrible things. The Iraq War, the Vietnam War, other atrocities, right? The left isn't critical of Israel because we reject liberal values and support Hamas's religious fundamentalism. We're critical of Israel because they're doing a genocide. That's it.
Yeah, like it's literally, it's like you can see what's happening, okay?
Further than that, for an explanation, genocide bad. Period. Full stop. I'm never going to rationalize a literal genocide because the country doing said genocide has more egalitarian laws when it comes to women and LGBTQ plus rights. I'm fundamentally opposed to genocide because genocide is bad inherently so. Therefore, the values of the victims are irrelevant to me. You're not going to entice me into supporting genocide by saying, hey, what if I told you Israel is pro-gay? I'm not going to be like, oh, really? Well, I guess they can do this genocide now. That's irrelevant to me. I don't care about that. I care about the actions of what they're doing, right? You can't convince me that this genocide is just because they're taking on barbarians when they're the ones acting like fucking barbarians, right? We're not inherently good because we come from the West. People are people. And I respect human rights, which is why I am against this genocide. Now, Bill Maher is still criticizing Hamas for rejecting a two-state solution when Benjamin Netanyahu recently just said he opposes a two-state solution. So I honestly don't know if Bill Maher is dumb or ignorant, but he just doesn't.
I don't think so. I think he's just a ghoul.
Doesn't care because he's supporting Israel by default. So any and everything that Israel does is good no matter what because they're the good guys and the good guys can't do wrong. Good guys are taking on the bad guys. That's as much as I need to know. Now, the same is true for Fetterman. He is basically using the same logic, but he also admitted that he staked out a position in the beginning, right? After October 7th, he said he's going to ride with Israel. And even though their actions are indefensible, he chose a team, and he's going to ride or die with that team no matter what. But I should be more clear. He didn't really make the choice to support Israel, because it's kind of the default position for all politicians, given the influence that the Israel lobby has. But ironically, Fetterman took a dig at one of his colleagues for doing the bidding of a foreign government after taking bribes. But you're going to know the irony here, but just watch.
But more people seem more concerned about
Correct. Just pulling the mask off liberalism. Thanks, Bill.
me wearing a hoodie on the floor, as opposed to we have senators taking bribes and being, foreign agents and everything like that.
Now, he's of course referring to Bob Menendez, who was indicted for allegedly doing the bidding of Egypt after taking bribes from them in the form of gold bars and a luxury Mercedes-Benz. But I mean, Fetterman isn't in the best position to be making this critique, because as AIPAC Tracker points out, he has literally accepted hundreds of thousands of dollars from the Israel lobby himself and is currently using his power to do political favors for them as a U.S. senator in the form of advocacy and policy. Now, sure, Fetterman didn't technically break the law, but I mean, do you think that those campaign contributions from the Israel lobby had no effect on him? They're still bribes. They may not be, bribes in the form of gold bars, but they're still bribes regardless, because the money that he took.
Right, they're legalized bribes, right? He's in the same boat as IRI. His parents taught them in detail about Israel and Palestine and how shit was in the 6-Day War and the Yom Kippur War and all this, when both sides of the conflict had armies and really did want to kill each other. Yeah, but like all of that to me I don't care. Like, I know people want to, like, sometimes when they try to have this conversation, they want to try to like go through like the history and all this. I don't care. Okay, I don't care. Nothing excuses what is currently happening. Nothing. Zero. There's no excuse. Doesn't matter what happened in 19 whatever. I don't care. The current government, the current Israeli administration is committing atrocities, and we are funding it. That's the important parts. That's as far as I need to know. And there are persons on the street, streamer interviews doing just that. So you support Palestinians, eh? Did you know that they support women? They suppress women's rights? Gotcha. It's so disgusting. I agree. Fetterman is slime. Islam as all is Congress. As all Congress. As is all of Congress. Yes.
Took from this foreign government's lobby turned him into an agent of a foreign government, just like Menendez. He's just as loyal as Menendez, but yet he thinks that he's different than Menendez somehow. I mean, the only difference here really is that Menendez...
The only difference is the method of delivery of said bribes, right? One was illegal and lawful way of bribing politicians through lobbies, and the other was just taking money and gold bars and whatnot underneath the table. That's the only difference between Fetterman and Bob Menendez in that situation is the method of delivery. Okay? That's it.
Took illegal bribes, and Fetterman took legal bribes. But a bribe is still a bribe, and since the Supreme Court legalized bribery, politicians can effectively do what Menendez did if they just limit the kind of bribes they take to campaign contributions.
Right, and the problem with what happened with Menendez is the method of delivery. Right, the method of delivery of this bribe. Why would you take illegal bribes when you can do it perfectly legally? Right. The only difference is that Congress says this bribe is legal, exactly, because it's a feedback loop, right?
My point is, Fetterman should have some more self-awareness if he's going to call out the corruption of other senators, because he's really no different. But in conclusion, whether it's due to brain damage or corruption, John Fetterman is wrong for supporting genocide. And I don't care why he supports genocide. The fact that he supports genocide is immoral and disgusting, and politicians like him need to be shamed for all of eternity for cheerleading on one of the worst atrocities our generation has witnessed.
Yep. Keep liking the stream on YouTube, folks. I see you guys. Thank you. American politics is just legalized money laundering. Yeah, it kind of really just is, right? Because, like, think about it. The capitalist class basically controls the majority, if not almost outright, all the wealth and resource, and they put it into making sure that the system exists just to serve them, essentially. That's it. That's literally it. It's just capitalists have acquired enough wealth and resources, and with that comes influence and power, in the form of essentially creating a system where you can legally bribe the very government that sets your own rules, and so on and so forth, right? It is effectively just a giant big money laundering scheme. That's correct.
The most important story of our time has come to a conclusion.
Yes.
Of course, I'm joking, because who the hell cares about Hunter Biden? But I'm going to try and break down what I can of this. I don't care about this trial. I don't care about Hunter Biden.
Yeah, like, I think the main takeaway, this, I'm sure David might go into it, but, like, the main takeaway is, like, for all this hemming and hawing about how, like, the justice system is all one-sided, right? The Biden Justice Department is only going after conservatives, or only going after Republicans. They're only going after their political opponents. The Biden crime family is just allowing to operate without any type of accountability. And yet here, not only do we have, like, the Biden trial that just concluded and resulted with him being convicted, but we also have the Bob Menendez trial for that bribery scheme, which we will go over as well. So it sounds like maybe the Biden Justice Department maybe is just going after people who do egregious enough crimes that they're caught and have enough evidence to indict. I don't know. Maybe it's just that. Maybe it's just that Donald Trump faced these criminal trials because he had enough evidence to warrant it. People on the right were saying that the reason Joe Biden was in the court was to intimidate people. Yeah, like, this is just so absurd. That's basically the takeaway of this story here, right? Like, the absurdity of it all. I'm curious as to how much prison time he gets, but I don't think there'll be any policy differences. I doubt it. Although it would, he did a huge no-no. Like, you cannot lie on your form if you're trying to purchase a firearm. You cannot lie, and if you're caught, it's a big no-no. Now, I guess I'm not voting for Hunter Biden now. No, you can't vote for convicted felons. Okay. Congratulations to the brave jury standing up to Joe Biden's terrifying visage. Wait, this is a massive story now that Hunter's been convicted. He can no longer be president. True.
We'll get to my thoughts on that in a second. I'm going to get to what Republicans are doing with this now. Because now that they caught the car, they appear to be a little confused as to how to deal and are trying to now, of course, no, this is not an example of the system working. No, they got Hunter on these charges on purpose. Setting him up for potential 20 years of jail time on purpose.
Yeah, there you go. It's all a plot. It's all a conspiracy, you know? It's a conspiracy. Yeah, it's just it's just one of those spam things like best viewers on whatever. Sorry, there's not going to be any links, and yeah, I haven't seen those in a while.
As a distraction from the real things that Joe Biden did, except he didn't do them based on Republican reports. This story, the Hunter Biden story, just any news coverage covering this, I'm going to show you why it's so stupid based on their own news coverage, is so dumb. This is a perfect example of how right-wing media manufactures narratives out of nothing and then causes the
right, because this is the thing that you're supposed to be outraged for the week, right? This is the thing that you're supposed to be outraged for all the boomers who watch like Fox News and conservative media. That's what you're supposed to be angry about this week, right?
the rest of media to act like this thing is important when it was never important. This is what happened today. Hunter Biden found guilty in a federal gun case. I don't care. If he's guilty, good. He's found guilty. Fantastic. Who cares?
Why angry? I thought it was funny. Let's not. I can't even like make a comedic thing about this. Like, I don't know. I can't even spin this in a comedic way. It's just to point out the hypocrisy on the right. That's all.
Even Axios is struggling to understand why this matters. I love that.
Like, it really doesn't. Like, the only thing, like, I guess that you could say is like a president's son was convicted of a very serious felony, but like, this is about as mundane as you can get, right? Like, you got caught red-handed, you freaking lied about your form, and you shouldn't have had that firearm, and now that's a huge no-no. That's it. That's like literally that's the beginning and the end of that story. There's no huge conspiracy behind like, you know, the Biden crime family or whatever. It's just Hunter Biden lied on his form and was in possession of firearms that he was not supposed to have or something like that. Like because he lied on the form. That's it. That's literally the story.
Breakdown here because they always have to explain why things matter. Why it matters. The president's son now faces sentencing and possibly prison as his father seeks re-election. You have failed to tell me why this matters. This doesn't. It's
right, like it's not like Hunter Biden is a key surrogate for Joe Biden's campaign. Like, okay, The Onion is just going to become real news because no one can satirize anything more ridiculous than what's actually happening. Yeah, I think they even made a joke about that. I think they even made they made a joke saying like The Onion was shutting down, was going to close its doors because they can no longer like satirize news. Or maybe I just saw something else. Stop it. Yeah, sure. It's not like the opponent has a clean record anyways. I'm just happy they're finally prosecuting people regardless of political party and whatnot. There was never an instance where somebody that got prosecuted was because of their political party. It just never happened in any of these circumstances. Like, Hunter Biden is not being prosecuted because he's Joe Biden's son. It's not a thing that happened. Okay, so the closest thing I found was something like this. The media hype? I don't understand. Yeah, I think this is what I saw a long time ago. And I thought it was funny.
Not as if Hunter Biden is in government, was in government, used his power in some nefarious way that impacts society, impacts people. This is an individual matter dealing with Hunter Biden. It's as if, let's pretend Tiffany Trump got a DUI. Should that be a 24/7 news story?
Yes.
Where it should be covered year after year after year since the election?
Yes.
This is so stupid. This whole story
Keep liking the stream, folks. I see you on YouTube.
is ridiculous because it has nothing to do with.
No one cares. Exactly. No one except the conservative media who managed to make this, into this week's outrage, right? Into this week's outrage machine.
Joe Biden. It doesn't matter at all. The focus on this is so absurd to me. So he was accused of illegally purchasing and possessing a firearm in 2018 while using a narcotic.
That's it.
Okay. This part I find kind of interesting because you have to imagine if Joe Biden wasn't president, I don't think this would have come up at all. I think Hunter Biden would not have been touched. No one at all would be talking about Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden only ever became a topic once Joe Biden became a candidate. Some legal experts, including Weiss's predecessor as U.S. Attorney in Delaware, have criticized the prosecution, given that the crime is not often prosecuted, especially for those with no criminal history. So, look, I don't really care enough about Joe Biden or about this law to dive into it, but apparently this is something that a lot of people are not prosecuted for.
Right, because it's very difficult to find, if you unless you made it so obvious, which he did by making very very findable and public evidence that he did. Otherwise no one would know. So again, the problem that Hunter Biden did was that he lied on a very specific form, on a federal form, about when you go to purchase a firearm, they give you a form. I forget what it's called, but whatever. The point is, they ask you questions, and if you lie and it comes back that you lied, or if there's some kind of verifiable evidence that you lied on the form, that's a huge no-no. That's what happened here.
And it just
Right, well, she did drive a sports car off a bridge and her boyfriend died. Nope, then no
goes
story.
away. And nobody cares. I think the real issue here are the lack of gun laws, lack of gun reform. That is the real problem, not Hunter Biden and what he did apparently in 2018. But so Joe Biden reacted to this in a statement saying, as I said last week, I am the president, but I am also a dad. Jill and I love our son, and we are so proud of the man he is today. So many families who have had loved ones battle addiction understand the feeling of pride seeing someone you love come out the other side and be so strong and resilient in recovery. As I also said last week, I will accept the outcome of this case, and I will continue to respect the judicial process as Hunter considers an appeal. Jill and I will always be there for Hunter and the rest of our family with our love and support. Nothing will ever change that. Okay, typical, I'm a dad. I care about my son. All right. I just want to show you what his reaction was. Now, this is Fox News.
Yeah, here we go.
Step into Wix Studio,
Hey!
the platform for
Stop it.
Here is how
So yeah, I personally have like a pet peeve against Wix. I don't know why they're showing up in my ads, but anyways. Yeah, I use something else. I don't use Wix for my website.
they are reacting to this.
Charlie Hurt for more on this. Charlie, I guess this afternoon kind of takes away the arrow that President Biden had in his quiver for the upcoming debate where he could refer to Donald Trump as a, quote, convicted felon and not expect that he was going to get it right back at him.
What? I'm sorry. What? What does this have to do with Joe Biden? Like, yeah, you're a convicted felon. Well, your son is. That's true. Good thing my son isn't the one debating. How? Okay. No, he still is, and Biden still isn't, right?
Yeah, it certainly does make it a lot sloppier for their best laid efforts to hang that title on President Trump.
Amazing. For a year, Fox News and conservative media have tried to make the argument that there is a two-tier justice system. One that goes after poor, weak individuals that have no power and no money like Donald Trump. And then another that protects the wealthy and powerful. This showcases that, at least in this instance, this system went after both Trump, who committed a crime, many crimes, and Hunter Biden. They went after a former president, a Republican, and a Democratic president's son, all within the same 6 months. Or really a month. and this is the takeaway that Fox News has. Can you imagine if Hunter Biden came out not guilty? It's exactly what we've been saying.
Right, yeah. So no matter what, like, you get your outrage bait, right? No matter what, you get the boomer outrage bait. 20 years ago, a son being convicted of a felony would have raised the question of resignation. Bill Clinton had his brother locked in a cellar somewhere for 8 years. The Kennedys had their poor daughter lobotomized for smiling too much or some ish. Jesus Christ. Sounds like they're saying they're weak.
Exactly what we've been saying. Hunter Biden, there's a two-tier justice system. Hunter Biden got away with it because of the witness tampering, because he's Joe Biden's son. See,
because Joe Biden intimidated the court. That boomer bait, they gotta show commercials.
The wealthy and powerful have
Boomer bait brought to you by Patriot Supply. The only reason is that's the only reason he's Biden's son. Yep, it's the most equitable our justice system has ever been. The problem is we're just arresting powerful people instead of cutting sentences for everyone.
Have one system, and then the poor lowlifes, the ones at the bottom of society, like billionaire Donald Trump, there's a different system for those. The system, at least in this instance, is being fair. 4 months. Conservative media, Republicans, have been claiming that Joe Biden and Jill Biden are engaging in witness and jury tampering. That Hunter will not face a guilty verdict because the system is rigged for Joe Biden, and Joe Biden is using the system to get Trump, which of course he wasn't, has nothing
Right.
to do with that at all.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
using this,
Joe Biden single-handedly maneuvering. So Joe Biden single-handedly maneuvering the very convoluted New York court system, which I had absolutely no knowledge about how just complicated that is and how weird it's set up, as I learned yesterday. Joe Biden single-handedly maneuvering that, but also a dawdling fool with dementia that can't even produce one sentence. So, yeah.
system to get Trump, and he's going to protect Hunter Biden. And there are so many examples of Fox News in particular here discussing how they're using their power to influence. Here's so Janine Pirro did a lot of it. Accuses Dr. Jill Biden of mob tactics for attending son's trial. And she did a few times on TV.
Oh yeah. Here we go. Joe Biden. Let's watch Joe Biden intimidate the court by attending her son's trial. Yeah. All right. Cool. Let's do it.
Here's one example.
Yeah. He can't manage stairs, right? But also the Biden crime family is single-handedly behind the criminal trials against Trump. Amazing.
You've got Jill Biden at the trial, but she wasn't just at the trial. She was at the selection of the jury.
Oh,
I can't help but think that she was there trying to send a message.
Yeah, true. A mother dared to sit at her son's legal proceedings to send a message. Gotcha. Cosmopolitics rating with a party of 49. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Folks, if you don't know who I am, I'm a difficult truth. I do the news, I do the politics. We're here Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Huge shout out to Cosmopolitics. Thank you. Hope you had a good stream. If you haven't already, please consider checking out twitch.tv/cosmopolitics. Good to hear. Welcome. Thank you. And welcome, everybody. I do the news, I do the politics. We're here Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. If you enjoy your stay, consider hitting the follow button. It really does help us out. Thank you. We are now watching Joe Biden be incredibly intimidating and trying to finagle the outcome before the verdict came. I don't know if I can handle this on my feet. That's okay. All right. Content warning, Joe Biden, okay?
I'm here. She's got her arms around the family members there. You know, we're the Bidens. This is Delaware. So on the one hand, you've got the sympathetic jury who have experienced the devastation of drugs and alcohol addiction. And then you've got kind of the mob mentality. We know who you are. We're in the courtroom and we're watching you.
Man, we didn't even get a B-roll of how that looked? My goodness, she must have been intimidating. We didn't even get a B-roll of how that looked in the courtroom?
Let me
Yeah. What happened?
She'll haunt you on the nightmares.
Well, I thought they were tampering. I thought the jury was going to be sympathetic. What happened?
The Biden crime family.
Here's this clown, Leo Terrell, with this Fox and Friends dipshit. This is, again, before the guilty verdict.
Leo, what does it mean besides a father and a mother supporting their son? Is there another message to that?
I think the message is to influence the jury pool. Look, you got the first lady, you got Secret Service, you got a high-profile situation involving the son of the president, and everyone in Delaware knows Joe Biden. So he basically has this case in his own backyard. So everyone knows it. So there's a...
True. I'm never asking this man to deliver a message for me.
tremendous amount of influence being put on by the Bidens to the jury.
True.
Was there?
Also, like, that's kind of that's kind of accusing Biden of a crime, which yeah, I don't know.
Because he's now guilty. What happened to this influence? So here is what Republicans and our conservatives are now trying to do. This quote, kind of dumb, to be honest. Gates and other mega figures irked by Hunter Biden guilty verdict. Guess how they're trying to frame this now. So Matt Gaetz just tweeting out Hunter Biden gun conviction is kind of dumb, to be honest.
How to open your car door while submerged underwater. A fatal construction flaw in all recent automobiles.
Charlie Kirk, Hunter Biden guilty, yawn. The true crimes of the Biden crime family.
Yeah, there you go. That the true crime of the Biden crime family hasn't been unveiled. Got it.
Remain untouched. This is a fake trial trying to make the justice system appear balanced. Don't fall for it. They didn't get the right crimes.
Gotcha. So it's all a plot. The man whose forehead is ever the man whose forehead is ever expanding and whose face is ever shrinking has given us the insight. Okay, see what's happening here is the Biden crime family is maneuvering everything so that it kind of makes it look like the legal system is balanced when it's not. Got it. This makes perfect sense. Defense attorneys do coach families to be in the court and show support for the defendant because it makes them look like human beings, and if no one shows up, you look like the biggest criminal on earth. It's the oldest legal strategy, and everyone with a family does it. Yep. They don't want Hunter Biden going to prison for 40 years for real crimes. They want him to go to prison for 30 years for fictional crimes. Right. Specifically crimes that fit their narrative. So Hunter has a fine now. I don't know what the consequences are. Supposedly that's a pretty big no-no to do what he did. So I don't know what the consequences are going to be. So I don't know. Right, they didn't even give us a date for sentencing. Yeah, like the verdict just dropped a few hours ago, if I'm correct.
So while it may appear that the justice system is balanced and they got Hunter Biden because he is guilty, that's not, because they didn't get him on the things that would have connected him to Joe Biden, who's the real crime mob boss guy. He's the real one, the bad guy. Stephen Miller here basically saying that DOJ is running election interference for Joe Biden. That's why DOJ did not charge Hunter with being an unregistered foreign agent or any crime connected with foreign corruption. Why? Because all the evidence would lead back to Joe. DOJ is Joe's election protection racket.
True.
You mean the things that Republicans found no evidence?
What did they say about Trump? None of his crime family was there. Yeah. sentence him to watch him 1,000 hours of RSBN. Now that's cruel and unusual punishment. That is cruel and unusual punishment.
New York Times. This is from 2020. Republican inquiry finds no evidence of wrongdoing by Biden. And this goes on to say, so Hunter Biden had cashed in on his father's name to close lucrative business deals around the world, but the 87-page report shows no evidence that the elder Mr. Biden, Joe Biden, improperly manipulated American policy toward Ukraine or committed any other misdeed. This is a Republican report. These clowns will make up anything to attack Democrats. They could not find a single thing to pin Joe Biden on. And then move to 2023. Republicans finally admit they have no incriminating evidence on Joe Biden. That's not going to stop them, because this was a year ago, and we have only seen a year of claims or, talking around the issue of, sure, he's guilty of something, I know it. He did something, but never actually having anything.
We don't know what he did, but we'll find it.
Going on to right here, House Oversight Committee Chair James Comer released a 65-page memo detailing a sprawling investigation into Biden and some of his relatives, particularly Hunter Biden. Nowhere in the massive document was there a specific allegation of a crime committed by Biden or any of his relatives. Where is it? It's just, think of all the manpower, the resources from major media organizations, be it New York Times, Washington Post, CNN, MSNBC, all these outlets that could have put their effort anywhere else, could have put that manpower, those resources, that money towards any other story, just dismiss this obvious bullshit out of hand. But instead, they fed into the right-wing propaganda, propping up this Hunter Biden thing as a story that matters when it never mattered, and making it into something that it never was. All that wasted time on this bullshit because of a personal thing that Hunter Biden did in his personal life that was illegal, that he got now a guilty charge for. It's so ridiculous how easily media falls into these right-wing traps. And understand, they are never satisfied. The right will never be satisfied.
Right, and also it doesn't matter what the outcome would have been. They need to be able to flip it and spin it so that their conservative base is going to be angry for the next week.
Because they're not looking for the truth.
Correct.
They're just looking for smears. It doesn't matter.
Blame Rupert Murdoch.
Whether this came out guilty, not guilty, they would have found a way to complain about it and a way to twist it around and make it seem like, of course, let's say Hunter Biden, it wasn't guilty. They would have said, oh, look, two-tier justice system, Hunter Biden not guilty. Look at this, Trump is guilty because he committed actual crimes. Hunter Biden, look at this, two-tier justice system. But now he's guilty. Oh, what? They got him on the wrong charges.
They're just using it as a distraction, okay? There's more to this.
It never ends. These people are clowns. Do not feed in to their propaganda.
I hear you, but we're going to end that segment on this one.
As I mentioned, we are not prepared to give that number. The Biden crime family stealing the election! The Biden crime family stealing this election! Fraud. The media's covering it up! The media's covering it up! The Biden crime family stealing this election! We want our freedom for the world! You're stealing that! The Biden crime family stealing this election! Fraud. The media's covering it up! The media's covering it up! The Biden crime family stealing this election! Give us the freedom to Biden! You're stealing that!
Phony polls, I have to call them phony polls. Election interference, fake polls, suppression polls. If you count the legal votes, I easily win. If you count the illegal votes, we can't let that happen. This is a case where they're trying to steal an election. They're trying to rig an election. Winning all the key locations, few observers have been kept far away. So far that people are using binoculars very far away. Votes have been in by Election Day, and they weren't. Votes are coming in after Election Day. Votes have been in by Election Day, and they weren't. Votes should be in by Election Day.
The Biden crime family steal this election. Fraud. The media's covering up. The media's covering up. The Biden crime family steal this election. We want our freedom for the world. You're stealing that. The Biden crime family steal this election. Fraud. The media's covering up. The media's covering up. The Biden crime family steal this election. Give us the freedom to Biden. You're stealing that.
Wow! All the networks! Those mail-in ballots could have been for anybody. Will Smith's father voted here twice since he died. Oh, then, oh my goodness, kind of funny that there was fraud. One of the things that does involve fraud is not making it possible to inspect. Gee, what happened? Come on, don't be ridiculous. All the networks thought Biden was going to win by 10%.
Votes have been in by Election Day, and they weren't. Votes are coming in after Election Day. Votes have been in by Election Day, and they weren't. Votes
This is a
should be
banger.
in by Election Day.
The Biden crime family steal this election. Fraud. The media's covering up. The media's covering up. The Biden crime family steal this election. We want our freedom for the world. You're stealing that. The Biden crime family steal this election. Fraud. The media's covering up. The media's covering up. The Biden crime family steal this election. Give us the freedom to Biden. You're stealing that.
Yeah. This is a banger. Is dancing. Yes. I think this is acceptable. This is an acceptable end to that segment. That's pretty funny. We're going to speed run through this because I only have a few more minutes. More than 10,000 Southern Baptists gather for a meeting that could bar churches with women pastors because nothing says Christian love like Christian hate, right? Nothing says love like Christian hate or something like that. I forget what the saying is. More than 10,000 voting representatives gathered on Tuesday for the opening of the Southern Baptist Convention's two-day annual meeting, where they vote on whether or not to ban churches with women pastors and deliberate again on how to respond to sexual abuse with churches. Yeah, you know, maybe focus on that. Maybe focus on that. Some 10,553 messengers as delegates are known are meeting in Indianapolis. On Wednesday, they're expected to debate on whether to amend their constitution to ban churches with women pastors from lead to associate roles. The measure received preliminary approval last year because cool. I quote, I hope people know that women have equal value and can be pastors, said Reverend Meredith Stone, executive director of Baptist Women in Ministry, an organization that originated within the SBC in 1980s, but now works with women in a variety of Baptist denominations. Participants said that hundreds of messengers' filings by reactions range from sneers to subtle thumbs up, signs to a few voicing thank you out loud. Joined them was Krista Brown, who has long advocated for a fellow survivor of sexual abuse in Southern Baptist churches and criticized the denomination's resistance for reforms, an effort she now has chronicled in a new memoir, Baptist Land. She said there's a direct disconnect between issues of abuse and equality of women in ministry. When you squash some people, it sets up a lot more people to get squashed. Wow, really? The SBC's statement of faith says that while women and men are both gifted for service in the church, the office of pastor is reserved for men alone. Some interpret that to mean only senior pastors, but the amendment would also apply to women in associate roles, even if the senior pastor is male. So yeah, that's cool. That's what's being debated. There's no societal progress like acute fundamental regression, right? So that's cool. That's nice. Just religious fundamentalism being religious fundamentalism. Bob Menendez, their prosecution star witness, describes the bribery scheme over brandy and cigars. So, very detailed account. It's not looking good for Senator Bob Menendez. Federal prosecutors star witness in their case against Bob Menendez testified on yesterday, about a backyard meeting with the senator in September of 2019. There was grand manure and however. And the senator was smoking a cigar. At one point, Jose Uribe, the witness who had pleaded guilty for bribing Menendez and his now wife, is cooperating with the federal prosecutions, said that the senator called out Mon Amour and rang a little bell that summoned his then girlfriend Nadine from her house to the backyard. She brought out a piece of paper and then went back inside the house. Uribe said he used the paper to write down the names of companies and people being investigated by the New Jersey Attorney General's office. Uribe said he bribed Nadine with a new car so the senator would kill this investigation. The New Jersey Democrat took the piece of paper and put it in his pocket. Uribe testified, "Hey, howdy. The next day, Menendez had a meeting in his New York district office, and then New York Attorney General Gerbir Grewal and one of Grewal's top aide, federal prosecutors, alleged Menendez used that meeting to try to disrupt the investigations that Uribe wanted stopped. So, yeah, we have a pretty detailed account as to what happened here. So they got a new car and $15,000 in cash. Uribe said that he never discussed the car with the senator, but no doubt he knew about it. On the stand, Uribe suggested being at the senator's girlfriend's home and having drinks and dinners with him could not be explained by any other way. At her house with the senator and the brandy and cigar, he was making sure the senator knew what the other end of the deal was. Get peace for Uribe, his business associates, and family. The backyard meeting, Nadine's house, was one of the several meetings that he testified to while being questioned by federal prosecutor on Friday and Monday. So definitely something that we'll keep track of. I'm pretty sure this guy's cooked. I'm pretty sure this guy's cooked, as he should be. All right, folks. Now we got two important news. We got two important highlights here. Federal judge strikes Florida ban on gender-affirming care for children. So, yes, good. Federal judge has ruled that Florida's new restrictions on gender-affirming treatment for children are unconstitutional, and that Governor DeSantis and other Republican lawmakers who supported them were not acting in the interest of public health, because, of course, they weren't. By refusing to allow children to access treatment, Tallahassee-based District Court Judge Robert L. Hinkle wrote in a ruling handed down on Tuesday by DeSantis and Republicans, in a ruling handed down Tuesday that DeSantis and Republicans who voted for the measure responded in a way that was similar to racism and misogyny, because, yeah, enforcing this moral view is not, however, a legitimate state interest that can sustain the statute, Hinkle said. An appointee of Bill Clinton wrote, partly borrowing arguments that the lawyers for the plaintiffs gave during the trial in December. The ruling is a major win for coalition of human rights groups that filed the federal lawsuit, arguing the ban violated equal protection rights. Today's ruling affirms the principle that individuals should be able to make informed decisions about their own personal medical treatment without discrimination by the state, said Thomas Redburn, the lawyer representing the plaintiffs, said in a statement. In response to Hinkle's ruling, Jeremy Redfern, a spokesperson for DeSantis, said the court was wrong to override the wishes of the people, which were conveyed to their elected representatives, and the state of Florida will appeal. We disagree with the court's erroneous ruling of the law on the facts and on the science. As we've seen here in Florida, the United Kingdom, and across Europe, there's no quality evidence to support the chemical and physical mutilation of children. These procedures do permanent, life-altering damage to children, and history will look back on this fattened horror. Hinkle's ruling also struck down restrictions for adults that were included in Florida SB 254, which DeSantis signed into law just over a year ago. They include requiring that only doctors, as opposed to other medical professionals, prescribe medicine for gender-affirming treatment, and require annual x-rays without regard for circumstance. Annual x-rays? What? The law was as a result of presentation of Florida Surgeon General Joseph A. Lepedo, gave the State Board of Medicine and Osteopathic Medicine in 2022 that compelled the two boards to approve similar restrictions. By making these new rules, DeSantis then asked the legislature to codify the board rules, saying that gender-affirming care includes castrating and sterilizing children, and mastectomies for girls, Hinkle noted that the rulings for surgeries on minors are extremely rare. or threatened to have it effectively still be banned because if providers are scared. Yeah, yeah. Here, the state will attempt to appeal, but we'll see. It's incredible to me that conservatives in Florida who were for eugenics are against disabled people until the 1970s speak on mutilating anybody. On the ruling, Hinkle wrote, DeSantis' comments about castration were false, and they proved that the governor's intent for the measure was not to protect the public. Whether based on moral, religion, unmoored hatred, or anything else, prohibiting or impeding a person from conforming to the person's gender identity rather than to the person's natal sex is not a legitimate state interest. Right, exactly. It's none of your business. The plaintiffs in the case were 4 transgender adults and 7 parents who appeared on behalf of their transgender children, and it was the second major lawsuit filed against the efforts by Florida to block transgender care. Hinkle in June of last year issued a separate ruling striking down rules made by the State Agency for Healthcare Administration that banned Medicaid from covering gender-affirming care. Hinkle in 2023 also issued a preliminary injunction in the case that he decided on Tuesday that blocked part of the ban on transgender treatments for children for the plaintiffs. The state appealed that ruling and decision is pending, although Hinkle's more expansive ruling could make that appeal moot. It's Florida, so, you gotta take the W's as they come. I would consider this a W, considering it's Florida and how bad it is down there. I think this is also very huge. U.S. banana giant ordered to pay $38 million to families of Colombian men killed by death squads. Florida, more like the bars on the floor. Bars on the Florida. The Florida court has ordered Chiquita in Florida, by the way. So we've it happens. It must be Christmas in June, folks. A Florida court has ordered Chiquita Brands International to pay $38 million to the families of 8 Colombian men murdered by a paramilitary death squad after the American banana giant was shown to have financed this terrorist organization from 1997 to 2004. The landmark ruling late Monday came after 17 years of legal efforts. It's the first time that the fruit multinational has paid out compensation to Colombian victims, opening the way for thousands of others to seek restitution. Good. It also marks the first time a major U.S. corporation has been held liable for such rights abuses in other countries and could lead to a series of similar lawsuits involving rights violations across the world. Good. Good. Quote, this verdict sends a powerful message to corporations everywhere. Profiting from human rights abuses will not go unpunished, said Marco Simmons at Earth Rights, one of the law firms representing the families of those killed by the paramilitaries. Dole, yes. Nestle also comes to mind. Also United Fruit, I think it's what it's called. Yeah, is United Fruit Company still a thing, or did they consolidate into something else? I should want nothing more than thousands of people to sue Chiquita and bankrupt the company. Yep. Chiquita pleaded guilty in 2007 to funding a specially designated global terrorist for secretly paying for the United Self-Defense Forces of Colombia over 7 years at the height of Colombia's brutal conflict, but had never before been ordered to pay compensation to the victims. Okay, part of it, United Fruit Company is not still around, and part of it became Chiquita. Gotcha. 4 Hezbollah commanders were killed by Israeli airstrikes. Okay. Chiquita pleaded guilty in 2007 to funding a specially designated global terrorist for secretly paying the United Self-Defense Forces of Colombia over 7 years at the height of Colombia's brutal conflict, but had never before ordered to pay compensation to victims. The right-wing AUG sprang up in the 1980s to protect landowners from leftist rebels such as the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, but went on to become the worst perpetrator of human rights violations in the South American nation and one of the country's largest drug traffickers. Wow. Until it disarmed as part of a 2004 peace process, the AUG was responsible for the most civilian lives lost in Colombia's brutal six-decade-long conflict, which left 450,000 people dead and millions displaced. Chiquitas argued that it was extorted by the AUG and that payments were necessary to protect its employees from armed Marxists. Yeah. Okay. The court documents show that Chiquita continued paying the AUG after it had been designated an international terrorist organization in the U.S. in 2001, and that executives saw the payments as a cost of doing business in Colombia. New evidence presented to Florida courts also showed that Chiquita allowed the AUG to use its ports to import automatic rifles and its banana boats to smuggle cocaine across the seas, human rights lawyers at the International Rights Advocates said. The civil case were brought by the family members of trade unionists, banana workers, and activists who were tortured, killed, and disappeared by the paramilitaries as they sought to control the vast banana-producing regions of Colombia. Some victims were forcibly disappeared by the AUG merely for being suspect of sympathizing with rebels. Among the rights firms said among the victims who presented evidence was the widow of a union leader who was tortured and decapitated and dismembered by the AUG in 1997. It's a triumph of a process that's been going on for 17 years for all of us who have suffered so much during these years, said another of the victims who asked to not be named. We're not in this process because we want to be. It was Chiquita with its actions and that dragged us into it. We have a responsibility to our families and we must fight for them. The case was a bellwether trial, said Terrence Collingsworth, executive director of IRA Advocates, one of the legal firms representing the victims. If the other pending cases are not resolved by negotiation, a second bellwether trial is scheduled for July 14th. These brave women and other plaintiffs in this case have demonstrated that corporate criminals like Chiquita can be held accountable through courage and perseverance. Hopefully, this verdict will inspire others to fight for corporate accountability. In my experience, corporations operating in the global economy will do whatever they can get away with. True. We just showed them that there are real consequences for corporate outlaws. I mean, yes, but really, as Hominem said, I would like nothing more than all the victims to come come forward and just like dismember this company financially. The AUG was cartoonishly violent. Like, they would go into a village and they would round up people suspected of being leftists, and you know how they determine who was a leftist? Whether or not they wore the colors of the FARC a lot. For context, FARC colors were red, yellow, and blue. Like, who doesn't wear those colors? Yeah, this makes sense based on what we were reading. Yeah, good. Get up. It's 7 o'clock. You're right. It's time. All right, we did it. That is pretty freaking impressive. I'm glad. I'm glad, and I'm hoping that other trials that are coming are resolved in the same manner. Yes, it's 7 o'clock. Well, 7 o'clock here. Is what I meant. Folks, if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to hit the follow button. I appreciate it. Thank you all for stopping by, and thank you all for hanging out. Thank you to Cosmopolitics for bringing her wonderful community over. I appreciate it. Please consider going to twitch.tv/Cosmopolitics. Thank you for hanging out. I appreciate it. Thank you, Michael Hasser. Thank you, Heat, for modding the chat. I appreciate it. Thank you, Jane Doe, for mixing it up in the chat. All of you are awesome. Thank you, Kamikazeon. Thank you, Hominem. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Cognizant, thank you. Let's see. Why is Kanye West? BPCL, thank you for mixing it up in the chat. I believe Wolfglen, thank you. Bipedal Meatbag, thank you. L Spanner, thank you. General Strike, thank you. Carpet Packs, thank you. Please consider following them as well. The Simulacra, thank you. Can you believe he does this 4 days a week, every week at 5 p.m. Eastern time? Also, folks, again, great stream. Thank you. I appreciate it. Folks, join the Discord, join the Discord, join the Discord. Have I told you to join the Discord? Because I don't think I've told you to join the Discord. Join the Discord. Keep liking the stream on YouTube. I appreciate it. I see you guys. Thank you. If you want to keep supporting the channel, there are many different ways. Keep following, keep liking, keep subscribing, all that awesome stuff. Consider checking out the merch store. I appreciate it. Next week, folks, it may be a little bit more difficult to stream. I'll figure it out by tomorrow. I'll make an announcement. I'll make an announcement on the Discord, of course. So if you want to keep up with the channel, that's one way of doing it. Folks, it is time for me to go. As always, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I'll be on. I hope to see you guys in the next one tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern time. Thank you. Yes, consider joining the Discord. Yes, I appreciate it. See ya. Thank you. Thank you. Hang tight, folks. All right, folks, we're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye-bye.